Hello, everyone. I am Miss Anna, and today I am going to say something that a lot of people are thinking, but very few are willing to put into words. Some women are not comfortable in a peaceful relationship. Not because peace is bad, not because the relationship is wrong, not because something is genuinely missing, but because peace itself, the actual experience of calm, stability, and low conflict, produces a discomfort in them that they do not know how to sit with. And so they do something about it. They introduce chaos. A small provocation here, a manufactured grievance there, a conversation that did not need to happen tonight, but somehow starts at 11 o'clock when everything was fine an hour ago. And the man on the other side of that chaos is left asking a question he cannot answer. What just happened? And why does it keep happening? And why does it always happen when things were going well? Today, we are going to answer that question properly. Not to attack women, not to excuse the behavior either, but to trace it back to its actual source so that everyone sitting inside this dynamic, men and women, can finally understand what they are actually dealing with. Part 1. What peace feels like when you were not raised in it. Here is where we have to start. Peace is not a neutral experience for everyone. For someone who grew up in a home that was predictable, warm, and stable, peace in a relationship feels like safety. It feels like things are working. It feels like exactly where you are supposed to be. But for someone who grew up in a home where love and chaos were always close together, where the most emotionally intense moments happened either inside or right after conflict, where calm was what preceded something going wrong rather than a destination in itself, peace does not feel like safety. It feels like the quiet before something breaks. The nervous system learned very early that when things are too calm, something is about to shift, that the stillness is not rest. It is the held breath before the next disruption. And so the nervous system stays alert inside the calm, scanning, looking for the thing that is about to go wrong. And when it cannot find it, when the relationship is genuinely stable and nothing is actually wrong, the alertness does not relax. It manufactures the disruption it was waiting for because the disruption is familiar, and familiar feels survivable in a way that the unfamiliar calm does not. This is not a choice she is making consciously. In most cases, it is not a choice at all. It is a pattern so old and so deep that it does not feel like a pattern. It feels like reality. It feels like she is simply responding to what is happening, not understanding that she is the one making it happen. Part 2, the biochemistry of chaos addiction. Let me go one level deeper because this is important. When a person grows up in a chaotic environment, their brain adapts. Specifically, the brain's stress response system, which regulates cortisol and adrenaline, calibrates itself to a higher baseline. Chronic low-level stress becomes the normal state. The brain comes to expect it. And when it is absent, the brain does not experience relief. It experiences withdrawal. The same neurological architecture that makes a drug user reach for the substance when the high fades makes a person raised in chaos reach for conflict when the tension drops. The conflict is not the goal. The familiar biochemical state is the goal. The argument, the drama, the late-night confrontation about something that could have waited, these all produce a stress response that the nervous system recognizes as home. And after the conflict, when there is reconciliation, when the tension breaks and warmth floods back in, the relief of that moment gets chemically coded as love. Not the calm before the argument, the relief after it. This is why women operating in this pattern will sometimes describe relationships that are objectively exhausting as passionate, as intense, as having something that the stable, peaceful relationship noticeably lacks. What it lacks is the cycle. The high, the crash, the repair, the high again. And without the cycle, the brain does not register the relationship as emotionally significant. A man who provides peace has simply not yet understood that to a nervous system calibrated for chaos, peace feels like the absence of love rather than its fullest expression. Part 3. The 3 things chaos does for her that peace cannot. Chaos is not random. It is functional. It does specific things for the woman creating it, and until those needs are met another way, the chaos will keep being produced regardless of how peaceful the man beside her chooses to be. The first thing chaos does is confirm investment. When she provokes a reaction and he reacts, when the argument is heated and he is fully present and clearly affected, that reaction reads as proof. Proof that she matters. Proof that this relationship is real. Proof that he is not just tolerating her but is genuinely, viscerally engaged. A man who stays calm during the provocation, who does not take the bait, who responds with measured steadiness rather than heat, fails to provide that proof. His calm reads as not caring. His steadiness reads as distance. His refusal to be rattled reads at the emotional level as evidence that she does not reach him. And a woman who is not sure she reaches the man she is with will escalate until she finds proof that she does. The second thing chaos does is create intimacy. This sounds backward, but stay with it. For some women, conflict is the context in which real things get said, where the walls come down, where the relationship drops the performance and becomes raw and honest and actual. The calm, stable surface of a peaceful relationship can feel like a performance to her, like 2 people being polite rather than 2 people being real, and the conflict cracks that surface open and suddenly she can see him, and he can see her, and that visibility, even when it is painful, feels more intimate than anything the peaceful version of the relationship produced. The third thing chaos does is give her control over the emotional temperature of the relationship. If she can introduce conflict, she can also resolve it. She holds both levers, the escalation and the repair. That control is significant for a woman who grew up in an environment where the emotional temperature was always set by someone else, where she was on the receiving end of other people's chaos rather than the one initiating it. Creating the chaos, as counterintuitive as it sounds, is a form of agency. It is the reclamation of something that was always done to her, now done by her, now subject to her timing and her choices. None of these functions are healthy, but they are all coherent. They make sense as responses to needs that are real, even when the method of meeting them is destructive. Part 4. Why she does not know she is doing it. This is the part that is hardest to explain to the man sitting across from the chaos. He wants to understand what she wants, what she is trying to tell him, what he needs to do differently. And the answer, which she genuinely cannot give him because she does not have access to it, is that she is not trying to tell him anything. She is not responding to a problem he created. She is responding to a problem inside herself that exists entirely independently of what he did or did not do. The argument that starts at 11 o'clock about something he said 3 weeks ago is not about what he said 3 weeks ago. It is about the fact that the evening was calm, that the relationship felt stable, that her nervous system hit a threshold of peace. It does not know how to sustain and found the nearest available exit. But she does not experience it that way. She experiences it as a genuine grievance. The thing from 3 weeks ago really does bother her when she surfaces it. The emotion is real. The hurt is real. The sense that something needs to be addressed is real. What is not real is the idea that the timing has anything to do with the content. The timing has to do with the piece. The content was just what was available. And this is why the conversation almost never resolves the issue, because the issue is not the issue. The issue is that the piece became unbearable and something had to disturb it. And once the peace is disturbed, the original grievance, whether or not it gets addressed, has already served its purpose. He stays confused because he keeps trying to solve the stated problem. She stays unsatisfied because the stated problem was never the real one. Part 5. How this plays out across the relationship. Let me walk through what this looks like across time so you can recognize it if you are living inside it. The beginning of the relationship is almost always calm. She is on her best behavior, or more accurately, the novelty of the relationship is providing enough stimulation that her nervous system is not yet restless. Everything is new. Everything is uncertain in the exciting way rather than the threatening way. As the relationship stabilizes, as the novelty becomes familiarity and the uncertainty becomes security, the restlessness begins. She picks a fight about something small. It gets resolved. Things go back to calm. Then she picks another fight. It gets resolved. Things go back to calm. He notices the pattern but cannot find the logic in it because the stated reasons keep changing. It was about his schedule last time. It was about his friends the time before. It was about something he said this time. The content shifts, but the rhythm stays exactly the same. Good period. Disturbance, resolution. Brief, calm. Good period. Disturbance. He starts to walk carefully. He monitors the length of the calm periods because he has learned that after a certain amount of time, something is coming. He starts to feel the pressure building before she acts on it. He adjusts his behavior in anticipation of the disruption he cannot prevent. And in adjusting, in becoming watchful and careful and slightly tense during what should be the good periods, he has done something significant. He has brought the chaos inside himself so that it does not have to come from her. Now neither of them is at peace. She has successfully transferred her internal state to the relationship, and the relationship holds it for both of them. And at this point, a man with high self-awareness starts to recognize something uncomfortable. He was calmer before this relationship than he is inside it. The relationship is not adding to his life. It is costing him the very thing he valued most before she arrived. Part 6. The role of self-worth in all of this. There is a version of this pattern that has nothing to do with childhood and everything to do with the present. A woman who does not fully believe she is worth staying for will, sometimes without any conscious awareness, test whether he will stay, not by asking, by making it difficult. If he stays through the difficulty, she has her answer. If he leaves, she also has her answer, which is the answer she was afraid of, but at some level expected. The chaos in this case is not about biochemistry or childhood conditioning. It is about a woman who has not yet settled the question of her own lovability and is using the relationship as the laboratory in which she keeps running the experiment. The experiment always looks the same. How much can I show him of the worst of me and still have him here in the morning? Each time he stays, the answer is reassuring, but only temporarily, because the data collected in the last experiment does not carry forward into the next one. The self-worth question was not actually resolved by his staying. It just went quiet for a while, and when it surfaces again, the experiment has to run again. For the man, this is exhausting in a particular way. He keeps passing tests he was not told he was taking. He keeps demonstrating a commitment he thought he had already demonstrated. And because the underlying question is never actually answered by his behavior, no amount of demonstrated commitment closes the loop. He cannot fix a self-worth problem. He can only be worn down by it. Part 7. What the man needs to understand. If you are a man reading this because your relationship has this rhythm, here is what I need you to hear. You did not cause this. You cannot solve this, and continuing to try to solve it will cost you things you cannot get back. Every time you engage fully with the chaos, every time you take the bait and the argument escalates and then resolves and the warmth comes back, you have just reinforced the cycle. She did not learn that chaos is not necessary. She learned that chaos works, that it produces the engagement and the emotion and the repair and the closeness that she needed. And next time the peace becomes uncomfortable, the path that worked last time is the path she will take again. Your engagement is the reward, and rewarded behavior increases. This does not mean you become cold or dismissive. It means you get very clear about what you will engage with and what you will not. A genuine concern raised in a reasonable way, that gets your full attention. A provocation launched at 11 at night because the evening was too peaceful, that gets a calm response and an early bedtime. Not punishment, not withdrawal, just a refusal to participate in a dynamic you did not agree to, and that is not serving either of you. The second thing you need to understand is that this pattern is information about compatibility, not character assassination, not a verdict on whether she is a good person. It is information about whether she has done enough internal work to be ready for the kind of relationship you are trying to build. A woman who creates chaos because she has not yet learned to live in peace is not bad. She is unfinished. And you are not the person who finishes her. That is work she has to do herself, usually with professional help, over time, away from the pressure of a relationship that is being used as the site of the work. You can care about someone and still recognize that you are not the right environment for their growth right now. Part 8, what the woman needs to hear. And now, I am speaking directly to the woman who recognizes herself in this. I know this is not comfortable to read. I know that the idea that you are creating the chaos, rather than simply responding to it, does not feel true from the inside. From the inside, it always feels like something real is wrong, and you are the only one paying attention to it. But I want you to sit with a question. How many of your conflicts have been resolved, truly resolved, not managed for a few weeks until the next one, but actually addressed and then genuinely put down? If the answer is not many, that is important information. It suggests that the resolution was never really the goal, that the conflict was serving a purpose beyond the content, and that no amount of having the conversation will close the loop, because the loop is not about the conversation. The discomfort you feel in peace, the restlessness, the sense that something is wrong even when nothing is wrong, the impulse to check whether he still cares even when you have no real reason to doubt it, that discomfort is yours. It came with you into this relationship. It was there before him, and it will be there after him if it is not addressed directly. He cannot make it go away by being more attentive. He cannot make it go away by reacting more when you provoke. He cannot make it go away at all, because it is not his to make go away. The only person who can make it go away is you. By doing the work of understanding where it came from and what it is actually about. By learning to tolerate peace long enough to discover that it is not dangerous. By finding ways to get your needs for intensity and engagement and confirmation of love met that do not require dismantling the stability of the relationship every few weeks. This is not easy work. It is some of the hardest work there is, but it is the only work that actually changes the pattern. Part 9, the relationship that is possible on the other side. I want to end with something that does not get said enough in these conversations. A woman who does this work, who traces the chaos back to its source and addresses that source honestly, does not become someone who stops feeling things deeply. She does not become flat or uninvested or boring. She becomes someone who can hold intensity without needing to weaponize it. She becomes someone who can communicate what she needs without manufacturing a crisis to deliver the message. She becomes someone for whom peace is not a warning sign but a baseline, a foundation, the thing you build from, rather than the thing you are always accidentally destroying. And the man who gets to be with that woman gets something rare. He gets a partner who chose peace because she understands its value, who brings her full self into the relationship without needing the relationship to absorb what she has not yet processed, who can be in a calm evening and let it be a calm evening without turning it into a test. That relationship is possible. It requires two people who have both done enough work to want the same thing, not the cycle, not the intensity of conflict and repair, but the quieter, deeper, more durable thing underneath all of that. The thing that is still there in the morning when the drama has passed, and the real question is whether you actually like who you are waking up next to. Chaos is loud, but it is not love. Love is what survives the quiet. Closing from Miss Anna. Here is my final word on this. The women who create chaos are not villains. They are people whose nervous systems learned a language a long time ago that is no longer serving them. The men who absorb that chaos are not obligated to keep absorbing it. Patience is not the same as permission, and continuing to be present in a dynamic that costs you your peace is not love. It is endurance. And endurance without change is not a relationship. It is a sentence. The real reason she creates chaos is that she has not yet learned what peace actually feels like when it is safe. And the saddest part of this pattern is that the men most likely to provide that safety are the ones most likely to leave when the chaos does not stop. That is the cost. On both sides, the work is to change it, not by managing the other person, by understanding yourself well enough that peace stops feeling like something to be afraid of. I am Miss Anna. Sit with this one, and I will see you in the next one.